Hey guys, it's Hannah, and today I have my, what is this, May wrap-up? Yeah, May wrap-up and June TBR. Since I do these like so late, I always forget which month I'm doing at the moment. It's kind of bad. Fun little announcement. I got a new kitten. Okay, he's not my kitten, he's the family's kitten. But I'm the reason we got him. So, story time. This is Waylon, by the way. We went to PetSmart to get cat food for our other two cats because we were out. And I always look at the cats when I go to PetSmart. And my mom made the mistake of having me come with her to help carry the cat food. And I looked at the cats and I saw a cute little black kitten with green eyes and I was like, Mom, we should get him. Now mind you, one of our cats is 12 years old now. He doesn't seem 12 years old because he's still really active. And he's our hunter. So like he's always bringing back rabbits and birds and mice and rats and stuff. So he doesn't seem that old, but he is getting old. And we've always said we wanted to get another cat. And I saw this cute little kitten and I was like, Mom, we need to get him. So later that afternoon we went back and we kind of, tried him out, played with him. There's another cat we also looked at, but she was too mellow for our cats, we felt like. But Waylon, he had just the right amount of energy and he was also really lovey-dovey. And so we went home with a cat in one day. We ended up with a cat. The other two, Jasmine and Sterling, which y'all have seen on my Instagram, they don't like him. No, Jasmine really hates him. Jasmine will see him and hiss and puff up and run away. Sterling, he sees him and he just like will growl or hiss or like swat a bit, and Waylon's like, it's obvious who's king. Okay, we're gonna get into the books now. So the first book I read in the month of May is probably going to be my favorite book of the entire year because I absolutely loved it. And that is This Adventure Ends by Emma Mills. This book was so beautiful and so relatable and I just absolutely loved it. It was about a girl named Sloane and she and her family have moved down to Florida, I believe. And she's not exactly excited about the move, but she ends up in this kind of group of friends. And in that group of friends, a painting that belonged to some of them goes missing, and so she takes it upon herself to go and find and track down that painting because it meant a lot to those people. And so this book is mostly about friendship. There is romance, and the romance is, oh my goodness, but it's mostly about friendship, and I love that because the friendship is so beautiful and the whole book is just so beautiful, and I loved Sloane. So this book was just, it was beautiful. It was exactly what I needed. This is like the kind of book that you reread over and over because you want that feeling again. You're like, this is the book I need to pick up. Because this book always gives you that happy, I feel like I belong feeling. It was beautiful. Favorite book of the year. Everybody needs to read it. This is one of those books that I finished it and immediately I wanted to reread it because I was like, this is amazing. So, highly recommend. The second book I read in the month of May was Gemini by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, and it is the sequel to Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I always find this book hard to explain, but basically it's a sci-fi. And it's kind of, it's not a thriller, but it's a very suspenseful novel. It's kind of like an Alfred Hitchcock movie in novel form, so I guess it's that kind of a thriller, but it's not like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's very intense and I love it. So it makes me think of Alfred Hitchcock movies, and I love Alfred Hitchcock movies. So it has that kind of a feeling to it, but set in space. And basically these people are kind of on the run from these other people in space. I don't want to give too much away because again, it's an Alfred Hitchcock type book, and so you don't want to know too much going into it. But it is amazing. It did take me a while to get back into Gemini. One, because I read it a while after I read Illuminae. Just because it was so intense, I kind of wanted a break. I needed to calm down because there was a lot of what moments in the book, and there was a lot of those in Gemini too. So I needed a little bit of a break from it. Plus, it follows different characters than Illuminae, and that confused me at the beginning because I was like, I don't remember any of these people. do I need to reread the first book? But don't worry if that happens to you. It follows different characters. But this book was so freaking good. And again, so intense, so suspenseful. But in like all the best ways possible. Oh, I love these books. They're so good. But yeah, so it took me a while to get into it because one, it'd been a while since I read the first one, and two, I didn't recognize any of the characters. And so it took me a while to kind of get used to the new characters, especially since I was expecting the other ones. But once I kind of got used to them, then bam, I was hooked again. Oh my goodness. Highly recommend. Next book I read was Ramona Blue by Julie Murphy. This is actually an arc that I won in an Epic Reads competition, so thank you Epic Reads for hosting those competitions and for, I don't know, randomly choosing my name, because when I got this in the mail I was like, did I order something? I don't remember ordering. Oh dear, am I that far into book buying? Not yet, guys, not yet. This book is about a girl named Ramona, and she lives down with her family in Mississippi, and they are kind of not well off exactly. And then her sister ends up being pregnant, and so all of Ramona's dreams for kind of doing something, going off with her sister, her and her sister wanted to go off and do something together, are kind of smushed, because now they gotta kind of stay back, take care of one another, look after the baby when the baby comes. And Ramona's old childhood friend Freddie comes back, and he has her questioning everything. All in all, I enjoyed this book. It wasn't one that I was like, oh my gosh, this is so freaking amazing, but I did really enjoy it. There are a couple of topics in here that it was like, that was handled beautifully, and it was just, all in all, a beautiful book. The next book I read was It's Kind of a Funny Story by Ned Vizzini, and I know this was eventually made into a movie, which I have seen commercials for, and I realized that after I'd started reading the book. So I haven't seen the movie. This book is about a kid who wants to commit suicide, but instead of doing that, he calls a suicide helpline, and he admits himself into the hospital. And it was a good book, but I don't know. It just wasn't my favorite, which I feel kind of bad for not being my favorite, because the guy who wrote it actually did have depression, and he actually ended up committing suicide, and so I feel bad for not liking his book, but I don't know, it just didn't connect with me as much as some other books. And honestly, it didn't leave like this mark on me. Like, I'm trying to remember like specifics as to why it wasn't my favorite, and I can't, because it just wasn't that memorable for me. So I don't know. I don't really know what to tell y'all about this book, because again, it definitely wasn't a bad book. It just wasn't my favorite. And I don't know. I really don't know how to explain how I felt about it, what I felt about it. So this is a really bad review for this book. But yeah, I really don't know what to say for it. The next book we have is Anne of Avonlea by Ella Montgomery. This is the second book in the Anne of Green Gables trilogy. Series. That's not a trilogy, that's a series. So as y'all know, I've been trying to finish this series for a while now. Finally got around to rereading the second book. Yes, this was a reread. And honestly, I kind of skim read it, if I'm being real. I skim read it, because I have read it before. I just needed it to kind of refresh, like, what is going on in this series so far. And I enjoyed it, but honestly, I wasn't really in the mood for Anne. I have watched and finished the Anthony Netflix series, which personally I really enjoyed. Mom and my sister didn't like it. I really enjoyed it. I liked how they kind of took a darker turn with it, which is weird to say, because most of the time I'm like, no, it has to be exactly like the book. It has to be exactly like the book. But I feel like if you just don't associate it with the book, then it's fine. It's great. I guess because like we already have the movies, which again aren't exactly like the book, but they were so good that nobody cared, that I'm just kind of like, we already have those. So now people can just kind of do whatever with Anne of Green Gables. I mean, let's be real, it's been out for a while. If people want to go their own way with it, I think it's fine at this point. So eventually, hopefully I'll carry on to the third book, make some actual progress in this series. We shall see. But yeah, enjoyed it. Anne's always fun to read about. I wasn't really in the mood for her at the moment, so it wasn't like, ah, yes, and I'm back. It was more like, okay, yeah, Anna Green Gables. The next book I read was The Last of August by Brittany Caballero. This is the second book in the... what is this series called? I don't know what the series is called. The Sherlock Holmes series, I think is what it's called. Basically, it's like a Sherlock Holmes retelling where Sherlock and Watson were real people, and it's based off of their descendants, and so Watson is a boy and Holmes is a girl, and they end up at the same school and they start solving crimes together. And the first book was really good and the second book was really good. Not as good as the first. I couldn't get into this one quite as much, but still really good. And this is another book that I can't say much without spoiling it because it's the second book in a series, but just know it's a Watson and a Holmes and they solve mysteries and it's great and it's cute. And I really enjoyed them. I really enjoyed them. Next book I have is The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Now this book is about people who have kind of supernatural-ish powers, but not really. It's like their normal things are kind of amped up a bit. Like the main character, she can kind of tell a person's life story essentially based off of just looking them up and down once. So it's like bunch of Sherlock Holmes kids. And basically she ends up working for the FBI trying to solve a string of serial killer murders. And it was good, but it wasn't great. And there's like this love triangle that I just could not get behind. Like, really could not get behind. And I figured out the murderer, which I don't normally try to figure out who the killer is in books like this because I like to be surprised at the end. So when I figure out who the killer is and I'm not trying to, it kind of disappoints me a little bit. So I don't think I'll be continuing on with the series because it didn't grab me. It was good and I liked it, but it wasn't great, amazing, wonderful, loved it. This next book, Alex Approximately by Jen Bennett. This book was so freaking cute. This book is about a girl named Bailey and a guy named Porter, and they both love old movies. And so they're on this like website where you can like chat while watching movies or something, but they have screen names. And so they're talking and they're friends, and conveniently Bailey's dad lives in the same town that Porter does. And so one day Bailey ends up moving to live with her dad, but she doesn't tell Alex, which is the screen name of the guy she talks to online. So instead, she's like, I gotta scope this territory out. I gotta figure out who this guy is. But while this is going on, she ends up getting this job at this really weird museum. And who else works there? None other than Porter. Okay, can you tell that I really like this book? So basically, it's a very Pride and Prejudice with a twist kind of story, which honestly, that's the trope that I'm like, I can get behind this. That's one of those where it's like the friends to lovers, and also the not exactly enemies to lovers, but you know, I don't like you anymore, then all of a sudden come to me. Gets me, guys. It gets me every time. Okay, not every time. There's always exceptions. But that's one of the tropes where I'm like, I can get behind that. You go do what you will, cause I'm on board. This book was just really cute. Like, really, 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 I loved it. Loved it so much. Can you tell? Because I haven't stopped smiling this whole time. I just really liked this book. It was so adorable. And I love the online aspect. I love Bailey's relationship with her dad. And I loved, I loved the whole book. It was so good. It was so good, man. You need to read it. You need to read it. The next book is It Wasn't Always Like This by Joy Preble. This is kind of a Tuck Everlasting-ish book where these two families drink tea made from these plants around this spring, and suddenly none of them age anymore. This one kind of like church group, it's technically a cult, find out they aren't really aging, and they're like, this is from the devil. We must get this out of our world. And so they burn down the house. It's cool, it's chill. But the girl and of course the guy were not at the house at the time, so they both survived and now they're both on the run. But they decide, well, it's not a mutual decision, but they end up separating, and it's about them years later still trying to find one another. And it was good. I enjoyed it. It was nice, a quick book. It's a very small book. Again, this was a book that wasn't like, this was amazing, I loved it, it left this great big mark on me, but I did really enjoy it. So if you like that kind of Tuck Everlasting type book, then you'll probably like this book. Whew, fam. The next book I read was Second Summer by Morgan Matson. So this book was great. I loved it. Basically, it's about a family where the dad ends up having cancer. And so they used to go up to this lake house all the time. And they hadn't been up there in a while, and so he's like, this is my last summer. Don't bite my book, dude. It's rude. And so for his last summer, they go up to the lake house, and it's about her reconnecting with people up there. And I cried, okay? I admit it. I cried. Yeah. This book, honestly, it wasn't that sad of a book. But it was just, it was right there, man. And I cried. It was one of those books where like I wanted to keep reading it because it was so good, but also it just the whole time made me so sad. And I'm not going to explain why exactly, but you might be able to figure it out. I don't know. Basically, I loved it, but it made me cry. It made me cry. But yeah, so I highly recommend you read it. It was a great book. I loved it. You probably won't cry, unless you might, but I could. Next books I have are Alice in Wonderland and Alice Through the Looking Glass, both by Lewis Carroll. This is just like the giant edition, which I actually didn't read it from this edition. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? But I actually read it from this edition because it's just too massive and I was like taking it places with me. So actually I have two editions. I have one back there somewhere that has both of the books, and that's where I read them from. I actually bought that when I already owned this one and before I read the book. So it's a good thing I absolutely loved this book. It was amazing, oh my god. One thing that I've loved about it was the witty wordplay that happens in it. It's beautiful. And it made me think a lot of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy because there's a lot of witty wordplay in that. I love witty wordplay. And Alice in Wonderland is just full of it. And it was very whimsical and it was beautiful. I loved it. I loved both of them. I think I liked Alice in Wonderland better than Through the Looking Glass. But they're like neck and neck. But I think Alice in Wonderland is like just that much over Through the Looking Glass. But they're both really good. I loved them. So good. 10 out of 10 recommend. Go read them now. This video's getting long. Thanks. Last book, The Midnight Star by Marie Lu. This is the last book in the Young Elites trilogy. It's also the Young Elites. And this deadly sickness plague rolls through, and then survivors of this end up with special powers. This is about the kids who have these special powers and kind of what they do with them, which aren't always good things. And honestly, this last book kind of lost me, to be honest. Okay, and it's been over a year since I read, what is it, Rose Society second? The Rose Society. So it's been over a year since I read the Rose Society, and then honestly, I kind of forgot the series, and then at the book club, one girl was talking about it, and the whole time she was mentioning, I was like, this sounds so familiar. And then she like said Young Elites, and I was like, oh, I was reading that series. Forgot about that. So I got it from the library and finally finished it. And it was good. I liked it, but I couldn't really get back into the world like I had been for the first two books. And that's my fault because it's been so long since I've read the other ones. But I would still recommend the series as a whole. Just don't do what I did and wait over a year to read the last one, because it'll still be a good book, it just won't be as good as the others and you'll be a little disappointed. Okay, so TBR. I've already read some books, obviously, because I'm so bad at doing these on time. I'm currently reading Mosquitoland by David Arnold and currently loving it. What I'm planning to read next, we'll see if it happens, what I'm planning to read next is Speak of Me As I Am by Sonia Belasco. This is what I'm planning to read next. We shall see. And yeah, who knows what else I'll read after that, because we all know that I don't really stick to a TBR. So I don't even know why I do TBRs, to be honest. I don't really know why I do TBRs, TBH. So that's it for this video. Comment down below with what you have read this month. I am going to try to be more consistent with video posting. I just finished working a week-long camp. Yes, so I swear, I am going to try to post more regularly, get back to my once-a-week schedule I had for like the first year of my channel, and then I just kind of dropped off of it this year. Apologies for that. So if there are any video suggestions you have for me to do, let me know, because I kind of need the help thinking of some. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see y'all again in another one soon.